Last Sunday saw Lewis Hamilton win his 5th World Drivers' Championship at the Mexican Grand Prix, becoming only the 3rd driver in history to win 5 or more titles. 10 years ago today, however, he had yet to win one, and going into the final race of the 2008 season at Brazil, a 5th place finish or higher would guarantee that Lewis would win his first World Championship after missing out by 1 point the year earlier. What followed was a tense 1 hour and 35 minute affair, with the championship still up for grabs going into the last corner of the last lap of the last race of the season. Before we start, in the background you may see me using Hamilton's car from the 2008 season around Brazil, seeing how I can do in his car. I had issues with copyright with my video about the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix, so I thought I would use some gameplay to fill in bits instead. That being said, here's the story of what happened at the 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix. Going into the final race of the season, Lewis Hamilton led the championship with 94 points, ahead of Felipe Massa on 87 points, with 10 points available for a win. If Felipe Massa won the race, he would end up on 97 points and would have 6 wins compared to Hamilton's 5, so Hamilton would need a further 4 points to reach 98 points to win the championship, which was a 5th place finish. The Constructors' Championship was still up for grabs as well, with Ferrari leading the way with 156 points, 11 points ahead of McLaren on 145 points. If both the Ferrari drivers in Massa and Raikkonen finished in the top 6, Ferrari would be Constructors' Champions regardless of where the McLaren drivers of Hamilton and Heikki Kovalainen finished. The race would be David Coulthard's final race in Formula 1, and he ran a special livery compared to his Red Bull teammate Mark Webber for the weekend, which was approved by the FIA. The car would be decorated in the colours of Wings for Life, a charity dedicated to raising awareness of spinal cord injuries. The race would also be the final race shown on ITV in the UK, as the sport moved back to the BBC for the 2009 season. In qualifying, Massa grabbed pole position with a 1 minute 12.368, his 6th pole position of the season and his 3rd consecutive pole at Brazil. Trulli had his best qualifying performance of the season to start 2nd, with Raikkonen 3rd and Hamilton starting 4th, which would be enough to become the world champion. Hamilton's teammate Kovalainen started in 5th, while Hamilton's teammate for the 2007 season, Fernando Alonso, started 6th, while Trulli's teammate Timo Glock started 10th and David Coulthard started 14th in his final race. The drama started before the race had even begun, when minutes before the formation lap was to begin, heavy rain hit the track, delaying the formation lap by 10 minutes. Every driver bar one changed from the dry tyres to the intermediate tyres. The only exception was Robert Kubica, who went on the formation lap on dry tyres, but had to come into the pits and change to intermediate tyres before the race started, moving him to the back of the grid. The front remained unchanged through the first corner, as Massa followed by Trulli, Raikkonen, Hamilton and Kovalainen, but through the next few corners, Kovalainen was overtaken by Vettel and Alonso, meaning Hamilton had lost his rear gunner. Further down the field, Coulthard was hit from behind by Rosberg, which caused him to spin, and he was then hit by Nakajima, Rosberg's teammate. This damaged Coulthard's suspension and forced him to retire in his last race without completing a single lap. Nelson Piquet Jr. also crashed out of the race, causing a safety car on the first lap. The track was drying minute by minute after the earlier rain shower, with Force India's Fisichella pitting under the safety car on lap 2 for dry tyres. At the end of lap 4, the safety car came in. Rosberg and Button were the first to stop for dry tyres after the safety car on lap 7. In terms of the front runners, Vettel and Alonso pitted on lap 9, Massa and Kovalainen pitted on lap 10, and Hamilton, Trulli and Raikkonen pitted on lap 11. However, this meant Vettel and Alonso were up to 2nd and 3rd. Trulli had been overtaken by Raikkonen and Fisichella, who had pitted on lap 2, and Hamilton was down in 7th, meaning Massa would win the championship if it stayed like that. He managed to pass Trulli at the start of lap 13 though, as Trulli ran wide and then nearly span on the exit of turn 3. 5 laps later, on lap 18, he managed to get past Fisichella at the same corner, moving him up to 5th place that he needed to win the World Championship. Vettel was the first to make his second stop on lap 27, after not fueling his car much in his first stop, leaving him in 6th and moving up Hamilton to 4th and Glock to 5th. but he would have to pit again for fuel. At the same time, Kovalainen overtook Trulli and Fisichella to move up to 7th. Glock made his second pit stop on lap 36, fueling him to the end of the race, but putting him back in 14th place. Massa came in 2 laps later on lap 38 and was also fueled to the end of the race, and 2 laps later than that, Alonso and Hamilton pit. Lap 43 saw Raikkonen pit, so the order was Massa, Vettel, Alonso, Raikkonen, Hamilton, Kovalainen, Glock and Trulli. With 20 laps to go, Vettel made his final stop for fuel and came out in 5th behind Hamilton, who was promoted to 4th. Vettel was catching Hamilton, but even if he was passed by Vettel, Lewis would still finish in 5th and become the world champion. However, the drama wasn't over. With 15 or so laps to go, drivers including Fernando Alonso and Robert Kubica were told by their engineers that rain could be coming in the next 10 minutes, and lo and behold, the rain came. Light rain started on lap 63 and would get heavier during the next few laps. A bunch of cars came in on lap 64, including Nick Heidfeld, who did a similar strategy early in the year at Belgium to get a podium. Kovalainen came in on lap 65, and Alonso, Raikkonen, Hamilton and Vettel all came in with 5 laps to go, but crucially, neither of the Toyotas of Trulli and Glock came into pit. Trulli remained behind Hamilton and Vettel, but Glock overtook them both, moving up to 4th place, 8 seconds ahead of the two, meaning Hamilton had to keep Vettel behind him to win the World Championship. A lap later, race leader Massa came in and rejoined out in front. The gap between Glock and Hamilton grew to nearly 10 seconds, and on lap 69, Kubica overtook Vettel and Hamilton to unlap himself, but in doing so, Hamilton ran wide at the final corner, and Vettel overtook him to gain 5th place and move Hamilton to 6th, meaning he wouldn't win the championship as it stood, and Massa would instead. At the same time though, it started to rain hard, meaning Glock would struggle on his dry tyres. Hamilton would have to hope Glock would struggle enough so he could overtake him, or re-overtake Vettel to win the World Championship. Starting the last lap however, Glock was 12.3 seconds clear of Vettel and 13 seconds clear of Hamilton. By this point, the rain was much heavier though for the dry tyres of Glock and Trulli as well. Glock's first sector on the final lap was 4.7 seconds slower than his previous lap, and Trulli's was 4.3 seconds slower. Glock's middle sector was then 8.7 seconds slower than his previous lap, with Trulli's middle sector a second slower than Glock's. By this stage, Massa had crossed the finish line to win the race, with Massa's family and pit crew ready to celebrate a championship win. However, going into the final corner of the last lap of the last race, Vettel and Hamilton had managed to catch up to Glock, as their sector times were only a couple of tenths slower than their previous laps. Vettel overtook Glock, and then the famous words from Martin Brundle were said.
Is that Glock? Is that Glock going slowly?
It is, it's Glock! Oh my goodness me!
Is that Glock? Is that Glock? Indeed it was Glock, and Hamilton overtook him and ended up finishing 5 seconds ahead of him, with Glock really struggling in the rain. His final lap of the race was a 1:44.7, 16.7 seconds slower than the one previous, and 16.6 seconds slower than Hamilton's 1:26.1. Similarly, Trulli's final lap was a 1:44.8, showing that it was too wet for the dry tyres. It all meant that Hamilton finished 5th, which was enough for him to win the World Championship in one of the most dramatic endings you will ever see. Alonso and Raikkonen finished 2nd and 3rd to join Massa on the podium, with Glock finishing 6th, Kovalainen 7th and Trulli 8th. Both families and teams believed they had won the championship, but it was Ferrari who were wrong, and they realised soon after. One of the Ferrari mechanics head-butted the wall, causing some glass to smash. There were some conspiracies after the race that Glock had deliberately slowed down so that Hamilton could overtake him and win the championship. As I have just explained however, both Toyota cars had the same issues on the final lap with the dry tyres on, with Glock's teammate Trulli actually going slower than Glock. Glock had been 19 seconds behind the Hamilton-Vettel battle and was in 7th place before the rain came, and he finished 5.4 seconds behind Vettel and in 6th place. meaning a gain of over 13 seconds and an extra place. If the heavier rain had come a minute or two later, Glock would have finished 4th and Massa would have been world champion. These are the fine margins in Formula 1 though. Ferrari did win the Constructors' Championship, but that was just a consolation. They haven't won a Drivers' or Constructors' Championship since, despite coming close in 2010, 2012, 2017 and 2018, when arguably they should have won at least one or two of those. That race would also be Massa's fine level win in Formula 1, as he became the second driver for Ferrari in 2010 after Alonso joined, which can be shown by the 2010 German Grand Prix. He was also lucky to race again after his career and possibly life-threatening injury at the 2009 Hungarian Grand Prix, and he retired at the end of the 2017 season. He will be racing in Formula E for Venturi for the upcoming 2018-19 season though, so hopefully he can regain some of the form that he had in his early Ferrari years. Hamilton was very unlucky not to win in his debut season in 2007, and it would have been so harsh if he had missed out at the last second once again. He has gone on to become one of the best F1 drivers of all time, winning a further 4 world titles and just missing out on another in 2016 to his teammate Nico Rosberg. This was the first of 3 titles which he won without finishing on the podium, including 2017 and 2018, and the first of 2, including 2014, to go down to the final race. It would be hard to have another championship go down to the wire as close as this one though. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this. Check out my previous video where I compared Hamilton's stats in Formula 1 to Schumacher and Fangio. Leave in the comments below what your memories were of this race and what your favourite title deciding race in the history of Formula 1 is. Also, let me know what you want to see me talk about in the next video. See you next time.